You guys ready for my cult?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right.
So ready.
I have the FLDS Church, Fundamentalist Church of Latter-day Saints.
Oh.
So, it's a polygamous cult. So that's fun.
What's that again?
Mormons.
Yeah.
What's that again?
They marry more than
one wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to have so many wives to get into heaven.
Okay.
In Utah, the streets are wider, so L. Ron Hubbard and all of his wives could walk equally beside
L. Ron
each other.
Hubbard is Scientologist.
No, Ron. What? Who did I mean?
Warren Jeffs.
No,
I don't fucking know.
somebody.
Somebody had that many wives that the city.
He had
really
like 12. He had like 12
widened their road.
wives, something like
I
that.
don't know. All right. The belief was women were to obey the prophet and their husband. Men were to obey the prophet. Men were given wives by the prophet, which is Rulon Jeffs was the first leader that would issue men wives. Like, oh, you deserve another wife. Here, you can marry this woman.
And did they meet each other? Was it an arranged marriage?
The prophet arranged it.
Okay.
So
you might have known him. You might not.
you might have not. Yeah,
Okay.
you might have known him. So Rulon was the first guy. R-U-L-O-N. Rulon, whatever his name is. Okay, so you had to get at least 3 wives to get into the highest degree of the celestial kingdom. The more wives, the higher you are in the kingdom. 3 wives means you actually enter into heaven. So 3 wives is the minimum. If you do not have 3 wives, you're not getting into heaven.
So if we all just marry each other, we're all set.
Yeah, pretty much.
If we just make a pact and do that, we all go to heaven.
That's what you want to believe. So before the sadistic leader Warren Jeffs, it was Rulon, which is Warren's father. He was Rulon. I'm probably saying his name wrong. He was the prophet. He could not die. Prophets don't die. He had 26 wives and 62 kids.
62 kids is
The
crazy.
youngest wife was 19. Okay, he kept everybody above the age 18, 19 he never married anybody younger.
Respect.
Okay. He ended up dying in 2002.
Oh.
So
How old was he?
surprise. He was I think in the 70s.
26 wives? 23?
He had 26 wives
And
Oh.
62 kids. Like,
I can't even think.
Listen. So I was watching this documentary, and they were saying that like he was still actively having sex like months before his death.
Yeah. Old.
And then so
Gross.
like when he was in like the final stages of passing, the younger wife, all the wives end up going into the room and singing to him, and they were describing how he looked, and they're like, he's not supposed to die. So they expected him to come back to life.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, he's dead, let's be sad. They're like, a lot of the girls, his wives, were just waiting to be like, so when is he gonna come back?
I mean, did they see him age?
I mean, but they didn't know. They're told that he's the prophet. He's not gonna die. So that was, like a surprise to everybody. So they lived in Salt Lake, Utah, and they moved to Clear Creek. Once they moved to Clear Creek, that's when he died. Okay. The prophet foreseen an apocalypse when the Olympics was going to be in Utah. Okay, so he's like, guys, there's going to be an apocalypse. We have to move from Salt Lake City. We have to go somewhere else. So that's when he convinced everybody to move, and he ended up dying like a couple months later after they moved.
That'd be annoying.
But it was honestly because the authorities were looking into the group.
Oh.
So he's like, it's an apocalypse. And then the apocalypse didn't happen. Yeah, he moved everyone to Clear Creek to save them. Nothing happened. Just kidding.
Clear Creek where? Utah?
Utah.
Okay.
Yep.
he prevented it.
He played it off as a test for everyone's loyalty and faith. Like, guys, you guys followed me. You guys heard
passed.
me. Everybody passes. Congratulations. We are living here now. So after Rulon died, Warren was one of his sons from one of the many wives. So he kind of like the wife, the mom, would kind of like push Warren towards him, like, hey, this is like, it's your son, you need to spend time with him, like kind of like because she wanted him to be the next prophet. He basically manipulated his way into becoming the prophet. Convinced everybody, kept telling everybody, you know, after he died, it was probably like within a couple months, maybe even a month after he died, like he's like, I'm the prophet, right?
How old was
the
Warren
prophet.
then?
I don't know, probably.
Is he a kid? or an
No,
adult?
he had to been in his 30s.
Okay. Oh,
He had been
okay.
in his 30s. So soon after he became prophet, he declared himself prophet. After he actually taped everybody, he would like take somebody into the room and be like, "Hey, I feel like I'm the next prophet. What do you think?" And kind of like interrogated them to say, "I believe you're the next prophet," until everybody kind of agreed. And then he became it. So right after he started taking wives, his father's wives, his stepmothers. He started marrying his stepmothers. Guys, what the fuck?
It's like a reverse Woody Allen.
They already had so many kids. Like,
So I think he didn't really take on the older ones.
Just think about his
Just like
siblings, though. His siblings are now his kids.
Yeah, and they had to call him dad.
No, they called him daddy.
So they have a new leader. Now they have some new rules, and it starts getting disgusting. Things became a lot more strict. You had to wear your hair a certain way. They actually had pamphlets of how you're supposed to do your hair. Yeah, like 4 or 5 styles you have to wear your hair like that. Clothes, they all had to wear matching like prairie clothes. Are you okay?
Do they cut their hair?
No.
Okay.
There had no contact from the outside world. No cell phones. No TVs. No nothing. They were all in like a community.
How many members of... okay, it's LSD, so it's
Yeah,
gonna,
it's a lot
Or
of
LDS,
people.
so it's going to be a lot, because it's still going.
Yeah. Okay, so basically he started giving all the young women to older men. So like, oh, you deserve a wife. Here's one. Here's a young one you could take. Here's a young one you could take. There were a lot of boys around that weren't getting wives, and so he ended up kicking them out of the group. Y'all got to go somewhere else. There's not enough women for everybody around here. So
There would be if they weren't hogging them all.
And this is when the police start taking notice that things weren't right, because you had these groups of guys coming from this community that have no place to go. No, like, and they're like, what?
Where'd they come from?
What's going on here? So that's when he started getting investigated. If a man disobeys the prophet, or if the prophet feels threatened, your wives will move to a different husband. So let's say Destiny is over here, like, she's just pissing me off. She has 3 wives. I'm going to take all of her wives and give them to everybody else. And you have no wives now. You're not going to heaven. And the kids go with the moms, and now the kids have to call the new husband dad. That is not your dad anymore. We don't know who the fuck that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like most of the baby mamas out here. Like,
This is your daddy now.
girls on story.
Oh my
Right?
God. I'm not sure what happens if women disobey. They probably get beaten or something.
yeah.
If you were to leave the church, you not be allowed to speak with anybody else still in the church. And that's kind of like common for,
Shun.
yeah, something like that.
What's it called in Scientology?
Disconnect?
The deactive? No.
No, it's disconnect.
Is it disconnect?
Yeah, you have to disconnect from everybody. You become
Well, you're a something person.
you become a suppressive
a
person.
suppressive person. That's what it is.
We're going to talk about Scientology next. Okay.
Another good one.
Some girls Warren made marry their cousins at like 14 years old. There was one instance where he gave a 14-year-old girl to her cousin, and he had to marry her. He was all for it. She was not. These guys, the cousins, were like in their 20s. The boys were like in their 20s, but they're starting to marry underage girls.
So before underage girls wasn't a thing.
It
you
was
said.
not a thing. It was like 19, 18 and up.
And now
with Warren, he's starting to be like, oh, you're mature enough. You're going to marry him.
Ew. You're mature enough. What does that mean?
One girl ran away and was living with her brother because he got kicked out for a couple months. Someone came to bring her back. It was somebody that she actually liked, and she asked to marry him, and he said no. I think this is the one that married her cousin, and then she ran away. And so the guy, Warren, talked to the guy, said, hey, you need to bring her back at any means possible. He's like, he goes, you can marry her if you want. He's like, we could get married if you come back. So he talked her into coming back. And the only reason why he went after that person that left is because she was only 14 when she got married. Warren was afraid she was going to go tell somebody she was underage and got married. So that's the only time he ever tried to bring people back, is if they were underage.
And was going to get them in
trouble. And was going to get them in trouble. All the property was owned by the church. So if you guys had houses or if you had a business, the church owned it. So, like, if you were to get kicked out, if Savannah were to piss me off and like, you're done, you have no house, you have no business, it's all mine because it's the church's, you're out on your own.
Jeez.
You have no wives. They basically strip you of everything and you're gone. Otherwise, if you're good, they'll supply you with a house. You start your own business, good, we're going to put in a church name. All this shit.
Kind of good stuff, you know?
Okay, guys, the magical place of Zion Ranch. You guys ready?
Okay.
So, this is supposed to be heaven on earth. They started building it in Texas. And it was, like, secret, very secretive. Not everybody knew about this, but there was talk about, like, there's this really good place that Warren's going to be at, and it's like heaven. It's the closest thing to heaven, and, you know, like, it's the best place ever, and it was in Texas. So it was basically Warren's hideout. He needed some place to hide out because the pressure from the police was starting to get rough. So he kind of disappeared. He ended up being on the 10 most wanted list for arranging illegal marriages between adult men and underage women. So that got out while Zion was still, I think, in the making. So, like, they were still building up the area.
Okay.
And the big church and all that stuff. So now he's on the 10 most wanted list. And he lived a wonderful life when he was on the run. He was actually spotted in public with his wives. He was at Disneyland. He was at beaches.
He really did.
He took
I thought that
pictures.
was sarcasm.
No, he went out and he spent the church's money, of course, on himself, living it up, still on the 10 most wanted list, going back to Zion Ranch and hiding out there. It's not like anybody could, there was no search warrant for it, so it's not like they were, like, getting him. He collected many forms of followers to support him on his vacation. So what he required from all of his followers was money. Guys, I need money to do my vacations. He expected $1,000 from every adult in the household monthly.
Jeez.
He had to pay to the church. It went to him. He requested so much money that sending it was a red flag. So they actually put wads of money in tomato cans, loaded it up on a truck, and sent it to Zion Ranch for him to use. Because shit was starting to get flagged.
That's like cartel type stuff.
Yeah. Let's see here. So he finally was caught and taken to jail. He was convicted for 10 years, rape by accomplice. That was his thing. So, story's not over, guys. Zion Ranch was still going strong. So there's children that were taken from Utah and moved to Zion. They're like, they want to load Zion up with children. Okay? Because by now people are starting to get really suspicious, but the children have no fucking clue. So they're like, let's take kids. They were actually taking kids without the mother's consent.
Kidnapping.
Yep. Yeah, there was times where it's like I was watching some lady said that she had 2 kids, 2 and 4, and she woke up and the husband arranged for the kids to go, and she woke up, 2 of her kids were missing, and she questioned it. They're like they went to Zion. Well, when the kids were finally reunited with their mom, like 2 or 3 years later, they didn't know who she was because they were raised by all these other mothers.
Ooh. That'd be a hard one. That'd be a hard one.
Everybody still saw Warren as the prophet, and they continued to follow and support him. He was still sending out sermons and instructing on what's going on, the building of Zion, and
from prison.
From prison, yeah. It all came to like a point. Zion all came to like a point when somebody called the police. It said a 16-year-old was pregnant. I'm a 16-year-old pregnant girl. I'm at Zion Ranch. I'm being abused. So the police came to investigate. Well, during the investigation, it came out that the phone call was a hoax. It was actually from a Utah person, a Utah phone number or whatever, that call. But they were already in the ranch investigating. And they found enough evidence with the children that were there and all the women that they continued the investigation. So then the police raided the ranch. All children were to be removed from the ranch. 416 kids.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It became the biggest custody battle between the church and the state. They were doing custody battles. They're trying to figure out where are all these kids going to go to. Who are all these kids' mothers? Where are they? Where are they at? So the church hired 400 lawyers to get the kids back to their mothers.
Their real biological mothers.
It just said to their mothers.
Okay.
It was so much for the courts to handle. They told the kids, all the kids had to be released to their biological mothers. The ranch was searched for evidence of Warren's foul play. Now, it was under speculation of what he did, but they found... They took one of the girls that reported Warren sexually abusing her when she was a kid. And they took her to Zion Ranch, and they're trying to figure out like if there's any evidence against Warren. They found in the temple there was a big safe where they ended up hours to break open the safe. And in that safe was records of everything from marriages, the births that have happened, recordings, ages of the girls when they got married, pictures of like Warren's 42-year-old ass and like a 15-year-old girl. So there was a recording.
Oh God.
And it's not a video, it's a tape of a 12-year-old girl on a ceremonial bed doing things to Warren, or Warren's doing things to her with all of his wives in the audience. So they found the ceremonial bed, it was all in white, and they had it was on a stage, and they had chairs and stuff, so the wives would sit there.
And then they found the recording.
And they found the recording, so the wives would sit there, and you hear him on the tape talking to the girl, and this is what God wants you, this is why you're here, God's gonna, this is what God wants. And of course he just raped her in front of all his wives.
Oh my gosh, that's you would never trust another woman again. You'd never trust a woman after that.
67 underage girls were married off. 24 of them were to him. So that's under the age 18. The youngest was 12.
I was about to ask, what was the youngest? Oh man.
He was convicted again of 2 counts of child sexual assault, life in prison plus a 20-year sentence. He still sends revelations in prison, and he still has support of his followers.
I didn't know he was still alive.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
That's what it still said.
They didn't shut down the ranch after all finding all that?
Well, yeah, they cleared it all out, but I think it might still be active now. I don't know.
Wow.
That's crazy. I didn't know that much.
That's
he just
They found a fucking recording.
Yeah, they found a recording of him and the girl, and then you hear the people in the background, which are the wives, that witness, because that's what they had to do. They had to sit there and witness him consummating the marriage. Guys, that's disgusting.
Oh God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Makes me so uncomfy.
Yeah.
And this dude, look up a picture of him.
No.
Look up a picture of Warren Jeffs.
Warren Jeffs?
Yes, look at a picture of him.
Bald?
Oh. Wow.
Those are his wives?
Yeah, look at them all looking up at him.
Ew.
That's the clothes that they
Go
wear.
back
They're
up and
like
see that
pioneer
face.
clothes, and then he ended up.
Oh, I seen this. Okay.
And they're smiling.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you think about it, he started marrying his stepmoms and then started abusing children.
He...
It's foul.
I don't understand how... I don't get it.
But a lot of people, when I was watching, like, the documentary and stuff, they were saying, like, we didn't want this, we didn't want to do this, but, like, he's the prophet, we have to listen to him. Our parents are saying we have to listen to him.
That's the problem, is you're getting kids where, you know...
And I'm just wondering what his game plan was, collecting all these children and putting them at this ranch. Like, what was the plan for that?
Probably
and most of them
world domination.
were girls. It wasn't boys. It was all girls, children.
Breeding grounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cults are weird.